Okay, so first off, you're going to start off with a grate to grate 3 large carrots, and as you can see here, I have a carrot. I'm noticing that no one wants the stem, so I'm going to go ahead and get a knife and cut that off. Going to want to go ahead and cut both ends off of the carrots. Make sure you do this for all 3 carrots, and then just make sure you put, if you have a standing grate, go ahead and put a plate underneath it, but I do not, so I chose to put it in a bowl. And then you're just going to grate till your heart's content, and make sure that you grate all the carrots and keep them in a bowl. And then when you're done, you're just going to want to set those aside and we'll move on. And then when you're done with your carrots, you want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 Fahrenheit, which is what I'm doing right here. And then the next thing that we're going to do is you are going to want to get your dry ingredients. So here I am grabbing my cup of flour, but for this recipe you're actually going to need 2.5 cups of flour. And from the flour, you're going to want to go ahead and grab your teaspoon measuring tool, and you are going to grab your baking powder, and then you're going to measure out 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then once you're done with your baking powder, you are going to use the same teaspoon measuring, unless you're super specific about what goes in where, but I'm not, so I just grabbed 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then you're going to want to go ahead and switch over to the 1/2 teaspoon and grab some salt. I personally like to use coarse salt. I feel that it gives it a better flavor. So I just opened that and I gave myself 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then this is my favorite part because I get to smell all the spices. So here I am with the ground cinnamon, and I made sure to move the salt so you guys could see. And so for this, you're going to want to use 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And as you can see, I'm measuring first with the 1/2, and then I'm going to switch back over to the 1. And then after you're done with the cinnamon, you're going to want to go ahead and switch back to the 1/2 teaspoon. And so I'm getting some ground cloves, and I give it a smell test. Don't like it. And so you just take 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves and throw it in the bowl with all your other dry ingredients. Then go ahead and grab your ginger and also get 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our ground nutmeg, and we are also going to add 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then at the very end, we are going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together, and here when we get to the end of this clip, I'll show you what it should look like in your bowl. I think it's pretty like that. And then you're going to want to go ahead and whisk it together. You could use a flour sifter if you wanted. I don't have one, so I just hand whisked it. Here at the end is where I'm going to be showing you what your flour should look like once everything is mixed together. And now moving on to your wet ingredients. So first, you want to make sure that everything is in front of you, and you're going to grab a new bowl. And here I am consulting my recipe card. And so I use canola oil, and so I wanted to make sure that I had a wet measurement. So I grabbed a measuring cup and I grabbed my Crisco, and I measured out 1 cup of canola oil. And then the next ingredient I grab is vanilla extract, and so it's 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And so you just measure that out and throw that back in the bowl. And then for my favorite part, I love cracking eggs, and so for this recipe you need 4 eggs, so here I am happily cracking my eggs. And then the next part you need is you need 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. And so after I figured out how to bang the sugar and get it all broken up, I opened it up, and for your brown sugar, you're going to need 1 1/4 cup of tightly packed brown sugar. So here I am measuring out, and you'll see that I grab a spoon and I'm pressing down where the sugar is, and that's because you want it tightly packed. Brown sugar sticks together. It's different than granulated sugar. So I just go ahead and I grab a spoon and I push it down, and as you can see, I'm moving the cup around so that it's tightly packed everywhere and it's not just tightly packed only in the middle. And then so once you're done with your brown sugar and putting all of your wet ingredients in the bowl, you're going to want to take a whisk and mix it all together. And I feel pretty clever because I came up with a fun transition. I hope it works because I spent a lot of time doing it. And so here we go, and I snap, and that's what it should look like when you're done with it. And so now you're going to want to take your dry mix and mix it in with your wet mix, and you want to make sure that you are only doing small portions of it. And then after you've mixed everything together and everything's well combined, you're going to want to go ahead and grab your carrots and do the same thing that you did with the dry mix. You want to make sure that you're only adding in a little bit at a time. Here I just wanted to point out I realized that I broke my whisk. I thought that my mom was going to kill me, but I was able to fix it really quickly before she found out. And so after everything is all mixed together, you're going to want to go ahead and grab your can of crushed pineapples. And so this is an 8-ounce can that I have, and I grabbed a separate bowl so that I could drain all the juice from the pineapples, because if you have too much juice, then your cake will be too watery. If you don't have enough, it'll just be a really dense, thick cake. So as you can tell, the juice didn't really want to come out, so I had to figure out how to do that. So I went ahead and I grabbed a spoon, and I used the spoon to squish out the majority of the juice from the can, and then I just added it into the bowl straight from the can, and I will fully admit I went ahead and drank all that pineapple juice. And then so once everything is mixed, you're going to want to go ahead and grab your 9x13 glass pan. You can use another pan, but I find that glass pans work better. And then you just want to go ahead and pour all the mixture in to the glass pan and make sure that everything is well incorporated in there, and make sure that it's fairly even. You don't want a super thick middle and then really thin sides, so just go ahead and put everything in there and even it out. And then of course, by the time that we're done with this, our oven has already been preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and so you're just going to want to pop that in on the top shelf. I don't like the heat in my eyes, so of course I make that awful face. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you my Alexa, and she sets a timer for 45 minutes, and I like to check it every 15-ish minutes, stick a hole, and 45 minutes seem to work the best. And then so to make the cream cheese frosting, you're going to want to start again with your pure vanilla extract, and you're going to grab 1 teaspoon of that and put it in a new bowl. And so you just measure it out, put it in a bowl, and then I'm going to transition to show you the next step. So after you put in your vanilla, you're going to want to go ahead and put 3 cups of confectioner's sugar, and then the recipe calls for an extra 1/4 cup if needed, which I ended up using because I didn't think that the frosting was sweet enough. I also had already put in the bowl 1/2 cup of salted butter. And I went ahead and I tried a hack where I had a stick of frozen butter and then I shaved it on a cheese grater, and it made it so much easier, even though it took around 20 minutes. So here I am trying to measure out my 3 cups, and I'll speed it up so you're not bored to death. And then so here I am over by my 110 outlet, so I can mix in 1 8-ounce pack of cream cheese, because this is a cream cheese frosting. And so you're just going to want to go ahead and mix it, and it sometimes, like when you're first mixing it, it'll get clumpy because it's the sugar attaching to the butter and the cream cheese. And I sometimes throw in a pinch of salt. Today I didn't, just because I didn't feel like salt. But it did take around 5 minutes to make, so don't be surprised if it takes a long time before it fully starts to smooth out. And so like I said, I tasted it and I said, it's a little not sweet enough for me, so I went ahead and grabbed the other 1/4 cup of sugar. That was the confectioner's sugar that I had over on my counter. So then all you have to do is just throw it in there and continue to mix it around until you are satisfied, and then here at the end of the video I tasted it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm satisfied with that sweetness. And then by the time that this was done, my cake was ready to come out of the oven, so I went ahead and I took it out, and then I grabbed a toothpick and I tested it, and no batter stuck to the toothpick, so that's how I know that the cake is done. And so now that I am preparing for Thanksgiving dinner, I'm going to go ahead and frost the cake. I'm just giving my frosting a little bit of a mix through so that everything's consistent and nothing is too chunky. I had to leave my frosting out of the fridge for about 30 minutes before I started frosting it. Because it is made out of cream cheese and butter, it did get hard. Now, as you can see, I like to ice or frost from the middle of a cake and work outwards. That way you don't start off with too much, and I like to go in a little S motion, and I just spread it around, and that's how you frost a cake. So for this next part, I put toothpicks in the corner of my cakes so that the frosting does not stick to the saran wrap. So you just go ahead and put 2 in the corners, 2 in the middle, and then 2 in the other corners, and you just place the saran wrap on top, and then you can stick your cake in the fridge, and the frosting does not stick to the saran wrap.